for Maha. And Ian seems to really only be on comfort on the Orianna next to the Syndra. So we see a very early Orianna draft as well.
Yeah, and a little bit of shout-outs to Max going on here by the Afrik. Nope, that's going to be TuSim's pick, so they're going to take away the Janna from Max. That was certainly something that worked out for them. Was in a, months gone by, and he has since stepped away. Things more like the Rakan, the Thresh, and the Blitzcrank and stuff like that.
I mean, fast forward, Atlas, it was actually in the wildcard match where it was the Twitch Janna and the Kramer going for Relic Shield start to rush down the Ardent Sensor. Going to be looking for the mid lane matchup after the break. They're going to take the Taliyah now early. Taliyah versus Orianna, a very standard wave clear matchup. We saw the flash of the Blitzcrank, often a pick into the Janna, try to punish her, especially in lane. But Rakan will be drafted, going for the Lovers bot lane. We wait to see where the priorities go in the second round, because Afreeca have that dual pick. They do have the flex pick of the Maokai, so there is a little bit more creativeness about the blue side draft.
Yeah, they can keep it up in the air. It's not necessarily an MVP draft where, if they haven't locked in a confirmed support, then you have no idea where anything's going.
And guys, we've been told that the audio issues are fixed, so that means that you probably had to miss a lot of what we talked about before, so maybe some rehashes will come through. But thank you again for joining us. We are here for Game 1 of this Best of 5 in the World's Gauntlet. Winner faces Samsung, and then the winner on Saturday will face KT Rolster. Thankfully, we can get back into the game and not worry about blowing people's brains, Atlas.
Yep, you haven't missed too much, but second round of bans have come through as Trundle's been banned away from ADD, and that is going to be the Twitch taken off the board. No, none of this Janna Twitch shenanigans to be coming from the Afreeca Freaks, and the Poppy taken away is an interesting one. I wonder where MVP are planning on going.
Poppy Jungle has actually, I would say, contaminated the Korean solo queue ladder. It's become a surprisingly big pick as an interrupt to the Zac. So it actually suggests that MVP want to draft Zac when you see Poppy, one of the few champions who with the steadfast presence can really interrupt the slingshot, and that's why we see Zac drafted and the Poppy ban. They were preparing for the Zac first pick on the red side.
I like it. I do also like the Jarvan ban coming out against MVP, though, just because that Orianna-Jarvan
my goodness, it's locked in.
Oh, it's happened. The Kramer Draven. Thank goodness the audio issues have been fixed now, because League of Draven has started. And yeah, there's the Spirit Olaf.
We looked in solo queue. He was back playing the Olaf after dropping it for the majority of the season. They left open Zac as long as possible. Outside chance going to be top lane, but Icy Spirit Summoner spells. And no, it's going to be a jungle Olaf. Afreeca Freaks, who have not played since that series, the best of 3 against SKT in the wildcard, are bringing the new one. For once, MVP is drafting standard in comparison.
Yeah, and the thing that's really scary, right, is that I'm looking back to all of those solo queue games that I've played against Janna Draven and had one of those spinning axes hit me in the face for half of my health at level 1, and I am so scared for MVP.
And what two casters could be better at casting Draven Janna? Because we remember Snake in 2015 spring of LPL. It was Crystal and Ella. Ella now on every winners.
The Nunu?
Crystal back as AD carry of Snake. They would famously run these hyper carry comps. They would run utility around it. Ardent Sensor Rush. There are no Draven nerfs on this patch. That's on a future patch. So Draven, if he can just get a long farming phase, think about what will happen. They will keep farming, as I imagine Relic Shield might be completed again, as Ardent Sensor comes through, as you get extra stacks. And now, if you're a Freak of Freaks, you invite pressure bot side. You know that the enemy jungler is going to want to camp bot side to try to punish what is going to be 2 types of stacking in the bot lane.
And now we have to talk about sort of strategies going into best of 5s as well, because to start things off, Afreeca have really changed up their entire MO. I mean, yes, you've got a lot of comfort coming out of the Olaf, things like that, but Kramer hasn't found success on the Draven thus far this season. I believe he tried it just once and didn't necessarily pull off the victory, but it's comfort in a very different way, where everyone just looks like they're on champions that they want to play. It's not necessarily a comp that they've ran before, though.
It is fun new stuff. Afreeca have flexed many times. They would draft 2 junglers and work out who went top at the end. We saw the Galio support coming through from TuSim, Nunu's support as well. They like to innovate, and you have to be excited to see how this will pan out. It's risky times, though. It's potentially an elimination best of 5 for them.
But at least it's game number 1, so you do have a little bit of a buffer before we get into it. But let's do it. Let's get into game number 1. Whew. That chant leader for MVP certainly popping off to start things off today. But Freaka going to be on our blue side to start. See whether they start any shenanigans. Looks like it's just everyone chilling out. The weather being assessed by Tucson towards the bottom side of the map. And Spirit just watching the ward.
One of those surreal Monday Korean League of Legends broadcasts, Atlas. We haven't had one of these since 2016 summer season, the piggyback times falling off the Gangnam Stadium. So we'll be Monday, Wednesday, Saturday for the world's best of fives.
I remember watching them, but I've never actually been in Korea where OGN has had a Monday broadcast for League of Legends.
It's a lot like the other broadcasts, except on a Monday.
Cool. Is that all that changes, though? Because I'm only a very short part of the way through.
I mean, we get Draven locked in with Fervor, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, that's part of the build that made me terrified. It hasn't actually gone with the Relic Shield start, though.
Yeah, it's a bit more laning focus. Has gone for the Doran's Blade start. I'm surprised to see
Maha,
the Doran's Blade start on Maha. Could have happily gone for the Doran's Shield. As Draven, you want to enter lane as fast as possible when you're with a Janna especially, to both get the push to level 2 and also get stacking. So it ends up being a lot worse of a leash for Spirit because they're more focused on entering lane. And actually, if you think about it, Spirit's happy to lose a bit of health on his initial clear to get the extra attack speed, so you're incentivized as a Draven to not even bother with the leash and just power into lane.
Yeah, well, he certainly has done that. Cleared up the first 3 creeps before MVP have even managed to attend. See whether it's MVP just thinking that, you know, they can utilize the added synergy that they have with this particular bottom lane duo, whether the W is going to be taken early by Maha to give Max a little bit of extra pressure as well. Some options here for the Xayah Rakan. Try and get through this, but Draven is always just so frightening, especially with the Eye of the Storm. To be popped on top, to be given all of those extra stats to start.
They do have a pushing lane in mid early at least, so thankfully it's not 2 losing lanes in a Draven, which I believe was the reality when a Freak of Freaks played it last time.
That was not a great draft.
No, I mean, honestly, Draven drafts in Korea have often been questionable. Arrow famously would play 1 game of Draven a season. Don't think he got to play that in North America. Sad days. Speaking of sad days, Beyond doesn't know that Spirit's here.
He looks frightened, though, as Kuro's going to make his way up. Okay. Beyond could be in trouble. Elastic Slingshot's going to get him out of the way as he spots Spirit making his way in. And yeah, Kuro just utilizing the fact that he had that wave shoved means that the Zac is going to be pressured away. So much similar to what we saw the Zac punishment in the finals and games prior. Just utilizing the Olaf this time.
It's not quite a plug-and-play replacement for the Gragas because you run Ghost famously on the Olaf, so if you get collapsed upon, you don't have the nope button of being able to flash overwalk. Ghost gets a lot lower value in escaping from the enemy jungles. It has to be a multi-prong plan. That's why we saw Taliyah invade as well. Double mobility summoners on Kuro. Means that he could just Ghost away if anything changed.
Yep, theoretically the same thing for Ian, but adds the extra help of the heal. Smarin, he was trying to take one of his casual turret shots just then, I swear. Just didn't, unfortunately, leash to him.
First time we've seen a Janna in recent memory not taking the heal. So it's not going to be Windspeaker's Blessing, heal Janna, and a combat summoner or perhaps a cleanse on the Draven.
I actually would have liked the cleanse coming out from Kramer this time around. I feel like against the lane duo that he's up against could also be a decent option.
I don't think you take cleanse into Blade Caller, as I say that instantly is hit by a Blade Caller is Kramer. And then against specifically Rakan, there's so much overlapping CC that cleanse alone won't get through. So what it does tell you is because he's gone Fervor, if he'd gone Warlords, maybe you go for the cleanse, but because he goes heal, it tells you that he's going to, at some point in this game, actually just try to take the 1v1, not have to be grouped with the Janna to get full power. So my suspicion is that they want to have the flexibility of being able to send him 1v1 with Xayah when the supports roam and actually be able to pound him down without lacking a heal.
Spirit was discovered in his jungle, very low on mana, so isn't going to go aggressive onto Beyond as Ian picks up these minions.
I gotta say, it feels like Zac averages a 6-minute level 4 in the LCK recently with all the counter jungling. Never do we see the quick level 4 ganks with the extra range on the Elastic Slingshot after every team has taken the SK Telecom T1 side of the coin. Only a little bit of damage goes through, and look at how much return damage from Kramer.
Yeah, the exhaust coming out onto Maha as well at a fantastic time, but he's completely out of mana as Kramer. so he's going to have to back away, but still winning out. Actually, just the one-man Wrecking Crew taking down Max to half health and Maha to almost death. But it was only exhausts being utilized by Tushin, and MVP's bottom lane didn't actually invest anything into keeping that one alive. Oh, Spirit steals away some popcorn chicken.
Last time we saw Afreeca invading with Olaf, it was spring season, largely trying to allow Rumble to overextend in the top side and vertically jungling. Different reality here where it's much more focused on shutting down the Zac, which has been, as we mentioned a couple of times already, a winning strategy in the playoffs. We'll just continue to farm.
Well, he's going to try to. Anyways, there's the Ignite going down. Heal not exactly optimal at that point, but Eye of the Storm comes back, and Battle Dance, the extra range actually being very useful to get Max out of trouble.
Yeah, last Axe almost took down Max, but didn't call in heal, didn't die
sick
either.
Rhyme too, Papa Smithy.
That's what I'm going for. Spitting the hot fire here.
Oh, yeah.
Best of 5 today. Could be a long one. Afreeca really rolled the dice in game 1. You'd imagine if they lose here, they'll go more conventional with a draft in game 2. Early trade's not going exactly ideal, but crucially, Draven doesn't die. Able to keep up the Adoration stacks and also pick up BF Sword first item, so while the trade was good for MVP, it doesn't really punish the Draven.
Yeah, I believe Maha should be able to get something else like, yes, the refillable potion coming in as well as that control ward, but not going to give you any extra battle stats against Kramer's Draven, so he'll be able to continue to put pressure on in this lane. However, hasn't necessarily equated to any sort of lead for either team. Afreeca Freaks 200 gold up against MVP, a little bit less than that in fact. Ian's going to be taking away his blue buff, Beyond helping him out with that one, and he's closer to that level 6 mark. Ragnarok being picked up by Spirit though as he's hit level 6. We'll see whether he's going to be able to utilize that, take down some kills somewhere else on this map. But a lot of wards on the bottom side of the jungle, one of them just timing out, but the control wards there, keeping Ian safe, so he doesn't have a big Viking running at him with big old axes. Beyond's going to launch forward, doesn't get the knock up onto Kramer, and some free damage going to come in.
Texture of the draft today is very different to what we saw 2 days ago on the LCK final, where we saw 2 games of Jace, of course, from Khan, putting his name up there for such an impressive carry performance. Here, if you think about the 2 drafts, honestly, we're pretty much ready to go in terms of both of them being teamfight drafts.
Yeah.
You can do creative things with the Draven because he does have kill pressure and a lot of 1v1 realities. Draven will actually be able to 1v1 Gnar at times in the game, 1 or 2 item phase. But largely, it's about team fights on both sides. So expect it to be a bit more explosive than more of the macro games we got in SKT versus Longzhu.
I do like MVP's comp, though, as far as those team fights are concerned. You've got quickness to start things off, as well as a big Gnar potentially coming in from ADD if he can time his Mega Gnar correctly. And you don't need to talk about Zac's ability to engage at all because it's incredible, and it means that there's ball carriers up the wazoo for Ian to select.
Yeah, everyone except Xayah is ready to go, locked and loaded to dive in. But speaking of dives...
Yep, that's exactly right. Oh my god, explosive damage from Maha as the Featherstorm cleans up the Janna. Kuro comes in, but he's a little bit too late. Ian, Command Protect, Dissonance for the extra speed as Beyond puts himself in the way of danger. Now with 4 members on the bottom side for MVP, they're completely fine, farming out this wave once more, and we'll see whether they can get some meaningful damage onto this turret.
You see one of the new things that MVP have been gotten so much better about, exactly as level 6 hit, they pull the all-in, all ults used at the same time. And Tucson didn't expect it. Flash and Exhaust up. Didn't use either because was surprised by the creep dying into the instant all-in coming through from MVP. They had the other members there as well. It was a calculated dive, but it was a clean one as well. And this MVP is not the one that took the rift about a month ago.
No, this was not the MVP that lost their first 13 matches. The majority of them, well, they didn't lose their first 13. They actually won 2 out of those ones, but they won 5 games out of their first 13 matches. Just not exactly the greatest performance from the team that came 4th in spring. That's why you're seeing them here. Those circuit points, so incredibly important to get them towards this qualifier.
Spirit spotted here. They know he's topside. AD will confirm that. Just face checking. Why we see Zac coming over as well. They want to try and blow the Ragnarok, but we'll see Beyond just pull back.
About half the health bar onto Spirit. Yes, he will be able to punch things a little bit more quickly, but does mean that Beyond was probably feeling a little bit better now about entering his jungle.
Let's go over a couple of the things we talked about in the pre-game, because the audio issues will probably have robbed guys some people will be wondering, how is MVP here? Weren't they right down the bottom of the table? But they rescued their spring points by finishing 8th. They did not finish in the relegation spots. they finished safe. And while they didn't get many points in the summer season, finishing 4th in the spring season, they ended up with more circuit points than Jin Air. Jin Air Green Wings, of course, so close to playing in the playoffs, only finishing behind the Afreeca Freaks by just a hair. The fact that they got basically no points in the spring season because they finished in those relegation spots meant they weren't really in line to be able to contest. And finishing 4th and then 8th was enough for the side of MVP to just sneak into the World's qualification gauntlet.
And the interesting thing is that you'd think that, Jin Air, based on their performance just under Afreeca, exactly like you said, would mean that you'd say MVP not necessarily as worthy of this position. But they have a winning record over Jin Air. Both of their matches, actually, even when they were getting trounced by everyone, they were still able to pick up victories over this Jin Air squad that was making a little bit of a comeback into relevance. So it's likely that if MVP was to face off against Jin Air, they would have been able to take that victory anyway.
And people often resent things like point scores. I'm sure Fnatic fans are really frustrated that they aren't one of the two teams guaranteed to be going through to Worlds from the EULCS. We kind of have the best of both worlds, Atlas, as then we're going to see an all-in here from ADD. But because we recently had MVP versus Afreeca and versus Jin Air, and they beat both the other teams that were in both Worlds qualifier, Gauntlet contention, and playoff contention. So in some ways, they kind of earned their spot here, and that's why we expect it to be more competitive than the match would have been 6 weeks ago when they went free-fall, losing all their games.
Yeah. And now you see MVP's composition actually feels like a lot of comfort, looking at the Orianna and the Xayah especially, but Rakan for Max has been a massive pick. Zach is just still a very coveted pick here in the LCK, despite not necessarily finding the success that he had in the past. Felt like a free win for the first few weeks of his debut.
Oh, come on. He was a free win for a lot longer. It took a long time
for no, but it was really hard for him to win when he was on the bench.
That's true, actually.
Oh, God. Max taking so much damage. Battle Dance cannot even save him. Okay, ultimate comes down, but not enough damage from Kramer.
We will reiterate, you can notice in the bottom left of your screen is patch 7.15 with Urgot disabled. Every other region on 7.16 with Urgot enabled. Same patch we were on for playoffs is Flash and also an Elastic Slingshot as MVP get out of there.
Yeah, it was a cute little weave as well, just to guarantee the Flash out of Ian. Could imagine Spirit probably wanting to make his way back in, but he did invest the Ghost, so may want to wait a couple of minutes before he comes back and tries that again.
In the farming phase, you're tempted to say favors MVP, but it's not by a lot. One of the few things they have that actually helps them as the game goes on is they have multiple ranged auto attackers. Afreeca really have to win a team fight in order to be able to start pushing turrets. Draven, while he can do turret damage, is not long range. Doesn't want to use his steroid to attack speed onto a turret. Wants to have the movement speed to get away from Zac or some other type of CC. And the CC engage from MVP is insane, so he's going to be zoned away from turrets anyway. The ranged auto attackers and just the inherent scaling of the Orianna and Xayah does draw your eye to MVP, even though both teams will be team fighting a lot in the late game. And Marin's reached the point where Black Cleaver is completed on ADD, and, well, the lane's no longer fun for the Mount guy.
Yep, hanging out in this lane just does not feel like a good time. It does make a lot of sense. I mean, ADD built a giant axe that looks like it's made for cutting down trees, and Marin is unfortunately a tree. So doesn't take a genius to figure out that Black Cleaver is a bad thing for a Maokai to go up against. But he'll be fine, just hanging out underneath this turret. Shouldn't actually be destroyed. Bramble bashing all of these creeps down.
Olaf's put a lot of time into warding up to give him advanced information if he's going to be dived, so he can't even use his W in order to get those minions. But like we were just about to allude to, it's going to be a free Drake to MVP. Freaking not too worried about contesting. Unlike the final where we had Infernals and Mountains galore, we open with an Ocean. It's going to be a Cloud as a second spawn, so Freaka can afford to be a little more focused on just getting that first kill for Kramer. He's ready to start cashing in.
Yeah, it's an overcast day today on Summoner's Rift. I did want to bring your attention to the build that Maha has gone for, because that's an Executioner's Calling just hanging out in his inventory. And do you think that's aimed against Spirit if he was going to make his way down, or Marin for some sort of teleport play wanting to avoid Sap Magic ruining his day? It's interesting because Tucson not necessarily, I mean, yes, he's got Monsoon for the heal.
But you know what else he has, Atlas? He has the Ardent Sensor, and when the two AD carries trade, the on-hit healing that comes through from the Ardent
true.
Sensor is enough to also get value from the Executioner's Calling. So while it will definitely help against Sap Magic in team fights and other incidental healing, it's actually for the laning trades against the Ardent Sensor rushes. Speaking of rushes...
Oh, massive. Really good Monsoon from Tushin, though, to really make sure that nothing's going to go wrong, and he does end up saving Kramer despite him losing a bunch of his health bar.
Probably going to be a BT rush from Kramer as well if we go to old builds for Draven. So getting a lot of value from the Executioner's Calling, despite it delaying his build path. Creative. First time we've seen that in the laning phase, in the duo lane especially.
Yeah.
I would say ever.
Well, Ian is in trouble. Still doesn't have that flashback available. It's a pretty understandable pickup, and Kramer cashes in the Adoration stacks with a well-placed Whirling Death.
And now instantly has the gold lead over his opponent. Not by as much as he might have thought, but he's 22 CS behind with a gold lead as they turn on to Beyond.
Yeah, he's going to kidnap Spirit, but who's trapped in where with who? Did have, of course, the passive still there. So it was going to be fine, but Turret is going to fall on the bottom side in the meantime as MVP take that one down, and that's going to be first brick. Be able to claim themselves even on gold once again.
And it's just, it bailed Kramer out of a 20 plus CS disadvantage because he picked up the kill credits. So critical for Draven, one of the few champions or even mechanics in the game where assists aren't enough, it's only about the kills. Cashes in, that little nerf that came through on future patches, not there for Draven on this patch, gets the maximum value, and now can enter lane with a Bloodthirster. Very, very expensive as a one-item spike, but kind of cool that the Draven build of yore is still the Draven build now.
And now, if he has Eye of the Storm plus his Bloodthirster stacked up to full health, that Overshield and the Shield of the Eye of the Storm will make him so tanky in the middle of these battles. You can imagine Knight's Vow is going to be coming relatively soon from either Spirit or Maren as well.
I see the replay.
Check it out again.
Didn't see a lot of return ganks this game, so flashes wouldn't always go punished, but Kramer plus 828 gold. Thank you for catching that, Observer. Very cool to see. You don't get a lot of Dravens. The few we've seen, I think it was one this season, like you say, from Kramer, just got pounded. We didn't get to see the big cash-ins, so cool to see. Does mean that instantly they leave lane, so like, we don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, look at him. Just there's a lot of grey at the top of that bar. It makes him look a bit like Kled. So we've got a bit of an engage onto Maren. Just smashes Max away and then twistedly advances to him. I like it. Beyond going to set up for the Rift Herald, trying to take that one down by himself, while Spirit steals away his blue buff.
Had control over top side because the Gnar was pushing out, and with the turret taken, it is going to slowly power down the Rift Herald. Like you say, trading it for blue buff control on bot side, and Kramer getting a bit more free time. This is the thing about Draven, is he can create weird lane assignments where 2v2 lanes don't want to enter against him. Because, okay, he might not be able to just press W and kill you from full. There's going to be CC, there's going to be warding problems. But if the gank comes through, he so often cleans up kills as if he's Jinx with the Get Excited passive, because the first kill so often will lead to the second. If he's given free time to free hit a Rakan, he will kill him very fast. That means you move away from him, you try to rotate and take map advantages instead of trying to trade with a one-item power spike Draven. And it suits Afreeca just fine.
Yeah. And this is the kind of Draven that you have to explode in one round. Like, if you let him live on a sliver of health, that is not going to be a sliver of health for very long. He's got a heck of a lot of lifesteal, double Doran's Blade as well, augmenting that even further. And the Ardent Sensor plus everything else means that he gets about half of his health bar back if he lands one of those spinning axes. Like, that's just the long and short of it. You need to keep him CC'd. You need to make sure that he can't free hit. Otherwise, I don't even know whether MVP have the consistent damage to take him down if they don't do it straight away.
And you look at the builds, and I guess the most happy thing if you're MVP is you're like, wait, no one's rushing down a Knight's Vow yet. The Knight's Vow on Maokai or Olaf is not coming in. The item hasn't been started to begin. I guess it could be Maren, given that he has cloth armor and the Ruby Crystal. But because that item's not going to be there, doesn't mean he's going to be basically unkillable in a fight. Janna already does a pretty good job without even including a Knight's Vow.
Yep, Kramer. Selfish guy. He's going to take away the blue buff from Kuro.
You just know that Crystal, the Snake AD carry, is watching this game, nodding his head.
And that's Crystal's skin, too,
exactly.
As well. Perfect.
He's definitely nodding his head and saying, we could make this even better. Where's my Mikaels? Yep. Where's my Knight's Vow?
Where's my Blood Boil?
My items have just gotten better. Draven meta.
Yep, that was If you guys didn't know, that was the Snake roster that built 2 Mikaels with a team with a Janna and a Nunu on it for the absolutely most big Draven you can possibly get.
I lost my stuff because basically what happened, guys, just so we have a bit of a moment, is that Snake was playing Draven wherever possible, and Invictus Gaming played against them, baited the Draven pick, picked every engage you could think of. So the Nunu's jungle just built Mikaels, they went full support, and even though it was the most screw you Draven comp ever, the Draven still can.
Yeah, because the Draven couldn't be CC'd because he had everyone looking at him pressing their Mikaels buttons. He also had a QSS himself, and he had all of the damage augments you can possibly get from anybody else on your team. It was pretty despicable.
Good VOD, Invictus Gaming versus Snake, I believe second round robin of 2015 LPL Spring. But we'll focus on this game for now. The Drake started, it's another Cloud, and it seems like Afreeca might want to fight it.
Yeah, Weaverswall's going to split it up as, Beyond is going to be able to pick it up, get himself out with the Elastic Slingshot as ADD gets over the wall with a hop. He's going to head into Mega Gnar form to give him that extra health and keep himself alive. But this tower in the mid lane is very, very low. MVP trying to get over there and undertow. Not going to hit Maha or do much damage to Max, but can they just bully this one down? I feel like they can if Kramer just hits it once. There it is.
Kramer has to pop his W before he goes for it, though. There still is that engaged threat from MVP, so the turret being one hit away means that Kramer could finally sneak in an order. If it was any higher, it'd be impossible. Wait and see how Beyond's going to use the Rift Herald buff. Hasn't been used yet. Yeah, look at that. It's actually really, really low, so might just be forced to use it topside.
Probably wants to use it mid. It's the last remaining outer turret, but you can see Freak's just putting on so much pressure around the rest of the map that he is called up here.
He's going to use the Rift Herald if he doesn't lose it, if he doesn't use it in a second.
On Beyond, press the button.
Trying to be greedy. The little picture's a bit misleading. It's quite long duration, but he's going to be forced to use it soon.
Yeah, just wants to make his way towards his mid lane as he throws it down.
Emergency Rift Herald.
Yeah, classic maneuver, but at least he gets it into the right lane.
This Rift Herald's going on a bit of a trip. It's like
yeah.
It's got a tourist visa, been able to go through the jungle to start. We'll come down mid, but the moment it's an emergency like this, Spirit can walk up and smite it. Kuro can start to put through damage. Not going to be a max value Rift Herald. They don't have control, so they don't see Beyond in the brush, and ADD's building up Mega Gnar on the bot side. We could see an engage around this by MVP.
Yeah, the Rift Herald is going to be the focus here from the Afreeca Freaks. Does get at least a little bit of a charge, but either the Storm is going to actually repair it, at least temporarily.
Used to be Last Whisper Bloodthirster, now it is Lord Dominik's Regard and Bloodthirster. So it's a build here from Kramer to maximize the damage from axes. If he's ever forced to drop the axes, his standing DPS is very, very low. So there was always going to be a target on Draven. It's even bigger when he's got 2 axes up.
Yeah. Now it's about, if he doesn't have any mana, you're going to be feeling very, very good. Or just make sure that he can't pick them up off the ground once again. So the Oasis picked up by Tushin as well as his Ardent Sensor. Now looking to augment that further, but he's very, very squishy. Could be a target for MVP to try and take down, but with the things like Monsoon keeping the Janna safe, can be a pretty good bait target for the Afreeca Freaks to utilize.
It's not clear. Tushin's real name is Tushin, so the Korean cast especially will call him Tushin. We kind of move between the two, but
yeah, I sort of can't decide what to
classic,
say.
So we'll stick with Tushin for this particular game for the sake of clarity.
Thanks, Papa.
Double Righteous Glory and 2-item Draven means that Turbo Engage is coming soon from Afreeca. The moment you dive into Maha might be a problem. When it's in this sort of a gank sense, it's different though.
Yeah, gets the wallet, but Tushin's going to move out of the way of it. And Kramer just wants some more Adoration stacks. Oh my god, 750 gold. If you don't mind, two and a bit kills, you could say, came in.
Yeah, he just backs. Probably got most of the money towards a Zeal item.
Yeah, looks like Rapid Fire Cannon going to be coming in for those long-range mega axes to be thrown to the head of MVP.
Could help wave clear with a Static Shiv as well. We'll wait to see what he settles on. What we do know is that 3-item Draven is going to be a 26-minute reality compared to other Dravens that have been denied in lane. So laning phase has gone basically perfect for Afreeca. I still heavily favor MVP in the late-game team fights because both teams dive in, and Xayah Orianna has so many disengage options and also can punish linear engage like a Maokai Olaf. I think that MVP will have a lot of options as the game goes on, but mid-game, which is basically being hit on the head with us right now, The power of the Draven means that Afreeca is just looking for the one teleport from the Maokai. Marin just wants to recreate his old TP power, get into the backline, and start a fight now.
Yeah, and now all of the advantages that MVP had elsewhere are just being demolished by Kramer. Whenever he moves over to any lane, he can kill almost anyone. And we saw ADD, he was dominating Marin earlier on. Was picked off, delivered more adoration over to Kramer, and more importantly, just gave space to Marin, get him back into this game. Only 20 CS behind, and absolutely fine with that is Marin with this Mega Tank in his back pocket.
It's surreal to see a Vamp Scepter in the inventory from ADD. We've seen some pretty DPS-focused Gnar builds. Cuvée, for example, went for the rapid-fire cannon and basically full damage in one game. Because there's so many people here that can actually punish him in a side lane, I'm actually surprised to see him go laning-focused. It does work against Marin, so when teleports are being involved, it's not great, but he certainly cannot take Kramer in a 1v1. That is ever the lane assignment given to him.
Yeah, it looks like Blade of the Ruined King and the
TP,
Frozen Mallet
here's that fight we were talking about, Atlas.
Gonna jump off the wall as Maha gets over it himself. Freaka Freaks setting themselves up as a group of 5, but everyone escapes, and MVP just lose the flash on Maha, which is actually big news for the Freaka Freaks.
And because of the timing, it means that Featherstorm probably would be just about off cooldown, maybe not even off cooldown, as Drake spawns. It's not a trivial Drake, it's an Infernal Drake for a Draven comp, so there's going to be super high priority on that. No flash on the Xayah. Freaka Freaks happy with the trade. The Xayah not having flash may mean they have to give up the Drake as it spawns.
Well, 30 CS up means that Maha is at least still staying a little bit competitive with Kramer, but he's down by about 200 gold or something like that last time we checked in. 3 items done for the Draven and 2.5 done for Maha Xayah. Knight's Vow completed first by Beyond, actually. That's important news, meaning that the Xayah will be able to get beefed up. And we know that Xayah are a fantastic hyper carry in the late game that you can play around similarly to that of a Draven, who has similar range to Maha on this Xayah, but a few more mobility options for Maha with the Featherstorm and a few more massive amounts of damage, screw you, you're dead type style options, as Beyond's going to jump his way forward, but has to flash out immediately. Doesn't find the engage, as now he's just looking to try and get the smite before falling down to the Bloblets, but no, Spirit grabs him the Infernal Drake. A big wall bash comes in from ADD, but he will get punished, and it's a kill.
Kramer.
Double kills coming in for Spirit, as he's the one capitalizing. Another one lands as Maha's going to fall to the big axe of the Draven. And this could actually just be the kills. Ian's going to go down. Max has a wall to deal with now. That's going to be the double for Kuro. The MVP of Summer, along with BDD, is going to start capitalizing with 2 of his own.
And sometimes it all lines up for Afreeca. Xayah had no flash. They get the Drake steal away by Spirit. And then MVP's forced to take the fight because they postured forward, trying to deny away Infernal Drake. First, Maokai root came in. They tried to DPS down Kramer like you mentioned, but it's Janna. It's a Bloodthirster overshield as well. Not enough damage to kill the Draven. Means that everyone will fall. The Baron will too. And Afreeca Freaks are monstrously ahead.
Yeah, and this is the Afreeca Freaks game 1 that we've come to know and love. The inner turret falls on the bottom side of the map. They continue the pressure by chipping down on the inhibitor turret as well. That will regen, but probably not before Afreeca come back and try and take that one down. As look at this, completely denied is Beyond as Marin bashes him out.
And Janna has 2 interrupts to Zac. They saw the Zac pick coming. Did Afreeca Freaks. They baited it and then went for this Draven comp. You see the Monsoon used to largely buy space. It meant no one could join ADD as he was getting the CC duration onto the Draven. And from there, Marin can just keep looking for the stragglers as they exit. No threat onto Kramer. Teamfight gold for Afreeca Freaks, and doesn't matter how many items MVP put together, they are now hugely behind in gold.
Yep, this is feeling disastrous. 7-1 is the kill score. 8,000 gold the lead at 30 minutes into this game. We expect this from the Afreeca Freaks. Their game 1s have always been phenomenal. It's almost like you just want to skip game 1 and get to the real stuff where you figure out exactly what Afreeca Freaks are going to throw down, but it's a fantastic debut into this Worlds qualifier for the team.
But there's a reason why Afreeca is frustrated, and it's the perfect games into the second games, I think is the best way to call it. They've had multiple perfect game 1s into struggles afterwards. And then you get games like this, Atlas. Another game 1, not a perfect game, But they were the geniuses of this draft. They knew exactly what MVP wanted to pick. You look down MVP's draft, and in any other game, you're like, my God, how did they get all these picks? Zach, Gnar, Orianna, the Xayah even, with the teams that are involved. But they played the head-to-head matchup and the meta perfectly, and this is the result.
Well, there's the flash. Maren actually being brought over the wall as the knockbacks are massive. Ian explodes in the front line beyond. Just getting axes to the back of the head from two different members of the Afreeca Freaks. A Featherstorm comes in for a fair bit of damage, but Maha, no options now. Cannot get autos onto anyone of importance. Maren's happy to soak it. Max gets just executed by this Afreeca Freaks squad, who are now looking to finish off this game. 11,000 gold in the lead. This turret is history, and the inhibitor very soon to follow.
Everyone is squishy, and Afreeca have reliable initiation. Draven cannot be killed. He is too strong, and the Janna is by his side. The game will end here, and Afreeca have engineered the downfall of MVP.
Yep. Kramer still looking for more kills. He's not going to help take down these Nexus turrets because, Fountain or not, he will try and kill anyone who stands in his way. This last Nexus turret is going to fall down, and the lead to start off this best of 5 will go to the Afreeca Freaks if they decide to kill it, and not all the members of MVP, one after the other. Kramer just taking names. Throw some axes at that Nexus, boy. You need to start moving on to game number 2, where Afreeca Freaks generally struggle a little bit more than other teams. However, that is a fantastic way to start and build momentum moving forward.
There's never been another team like the 2017 Afreeca Freaks. Their best is the best in the world. In a best of 1, when they have time to come up with a strategy, they have both the stars and also the innovation to take down anyone. Perfect games over some of the best teams in the world litter their season, but disappointment also litters the season. Them backing it up with a 3-game series would be the impressive part. They've never played a best of 5. Other than the one best of 5 they played in the Worlds qualifier last year. They went down in straight sets there. They picked up their first postseason victory ever. They have never won in postseason despite playing every single wild card and also that Worlds qualifier last year. This will feel so good for them because it wasn't even close.
It was certainly not close, and it was against some incredibly powerful picks. You mentioned that MVP got exactly what they wanted, and they were dismantled by this roster from the Afreeca Freaks. I like to call it the Axe Comp because it literally cut MVP in half that game.
MVP got everything they wanted, but they didn't know that there was a second menu. That was the one that Afreeca prepared, and it was way better than what they thought they had. They thought they had super picks, but actually it was Afreeca leaving them open.
But it feels like now that there could be some picks that could be taken off the board, some ways to mix things up for MVP. They'll be going back to the drawing board. They will have a chance to take a break and move forward. We're going to do the same